Season 1, Jeff, Barracuda, and the North American Sweethearts bring it home under the banner of Cognitive Pride.
No one thought had a chance at the finals coming into this event. Coming as the number 2 seed. Emily South ripping through. Titan down, falls 3. A double kill for South. It's a 5-man run. They're going to go for the win.
The world champions, Cognitive Pride, GG!
Season 2, we say hello to Europe as Adapting and Epsilon Esports slam it home.
Make a huge play. Adapting's about to go up. He's going to come crashing down. Who's the target? It's going to be all 3, and 2 will get stunned out.
Oh no!
He's taking tons of damage.
Oh no!
Chaos forced to move forward.
They don't have enough time for this. They don't have enough time for this.
No, it's a deicide, ladies and gentlemen. Epsilon Esports.
Season 3, new name, same roster. 2-time world champions, Raffer and NRG.
Well, there's 4 members left, and into the sky goes Adapting. The ultimate's way down. The Titan is under siege. Energy are looking to be world champions again. Long live the king! And once again, the king is Europe.
Season 4, PolarBearMike brings it back for America. eUnited slams the hammer.
Cracking and knocked back. There's Death Walker controlling things. PandaCat takes that Wolfie. Where's the remainder of the team fight?
Death Walker
That's
falls
one.
to Benadu, and eUnited keeps on going because PandaCat
That's 2! Still pushing forward. They're at the Titan. Only 2 members to play defense.
They can't do it!
And that's the game. That's the series. That is your Smite World Championship. Say hello to your North American victors, PolarBearMike and eUnited.
Season 5, new map, new players, new teams, same destination. Who raises Thor's hammer? The Smite Pro League.
Good afternoon and welcome back to another Smite Pro League day. It's week 2. We're in North America and Tolly's going to be joining me on the desk today to break down some of the goings on. Tolly, exciting over in North America. We saw the first week of action from them. Kind of expected, I guess, with how the teams performed.
Between eUnited and also Space Station Gaming making those roster swaps, a lot of spicy matchups in week number 1. I don't expect it to stop here in week 2.
You talk about swaps, we'll get onto that in a minute. But first of all, here's a little look at the schedule for the week. Obviously, Tuesday's done and it's on to Wednesday, so 3 North American sets. Any of those tickle your fancy in particular?
I think that the Space Station Luminosity one should be an interesting one for today. I think eUnited Trifecta could be very exciting considering the past history, which I'll speak about later.
Yeah, we'll get onto that too. And still games on Thursday and Friday too. Obviously, the start times of those, just so you guys are aware, 2 hours after the current one. So Thursdays and Fridays, 3 p.m. start. Today, though, 1 o'clock. Well, all these players, though, are heading to hi-rez Expo, or at least trying to get to the DreamHack portion, that's for sure. You guys, though, you can go too. Get your tickets now. They're still on sale until Tolly says otherwise.
Oh, it's always going to be on sale, and I will definitely promote all of these individuals. If you are going to hi-rez Expo, to definitely meet me on Sunday on the main event.
Oh, only on Sunday.
Only Sunday. That's the best day.
That's good.
It's the finals day.
It's true. It's true. It's the after party. Everyone looks forward to it. Maybe I'll get tickets in future on. Talking about more things that are going on promotion-wise. Gems are on sale. I repeat, gems are on sale. 35% off all gem packs. This is the time of year to buy them while the sale's going on.
So I talked about it with FDOT yesterday. Doesn't that Pele kind of look like Enna?
Little bit,
right?
I can see it.
Yeah.
I can see it, that's for sure. And on top of that as well, the last thing to mention, well, all you guys, you're viewing on Mixer right now, make sure your account is linked to Mixer to get yourself some lovely swag. Basically, link your Smite and Mixer accounts together, and you earn a Pro League balloon skin and continue watching, and you get more rewards.
I mean, why not get those in-stream rewards while you're watching anyway? Potentially could get some codes, and then get the SPL Bologna that you guys have been longing for.
Yeah, good little situation there, but enough about all the promotions. It's on to today. Let's have a little look in at the standings for North America and see exactly how things are shaping up before we begin today.
eUnited, no surprise that they're able to win so dominantly, actually, in week number 1 with the change. Baskin joining joining the roster. They have not slowed down.
Yeah, and you look at the very bottom of North America right now, that is Trifecta, who have lost both their games played so far, and that's the matchup we're starting today, top versus bottom, Anatoly.
So far, eUnited taking out Space Station Gaming and Luminosity. Trifecta dropping to both CLG and Space Station Gaming. Should be very spicy considering these past two teams' history. In the spring season, this matchup, Trifecta won both of them, but in the summer, it was eUnited getting the better end of Trifecta.
Looking in today, though, maybe United again. Now, obviously, Trifecta have had some roster changes. It has been announced it's going to be SmiteVOD who will be taking the place of Mask in the jungle for the foreseeable future. How do we feel about this situation? I mean, obviously, we were talking about, like, is there anybody better? There's a lot of the casters have been saying, people around saying, well, it might be hard to replace Mask. SmiteVOD seems like the best case scenario.
I don't think it's the best case scenario long term. I think he has his own flavor that he brings. This Vamana, his Erlong Shen, but I think he'll suit in terms of synergizing with Paul. The aggressive nature from Trifecta's mid laner should allow SmiteVOD to just look for that primary engage, regardless if he's playing Vamana, Erlong, or otherwise.
Yeah, and that's the one thing about this composition now is with SmiteVOD coming in. Now, there is, from what I heard for Game 1, Mask is going to be playing because I believe Zapman's unavailable. Not sure the reasoning for why Zap won't be available for Game 1. However, I have heard he should be back for at least Game 2. But that means Mask in the duo lane in the hunter position, SmiteVOD in the jungle. It's not going to necessarily work as well as I expect them to. I mean, they're just trying to do the best of the situation, I guess. But I guess having Mask and SmiteVOD on the team at the same time for one game gives us some sort of idea for Sam of what the jungle expectations are going to be for him.
If I was Mask playing a hunter position and then trying to fight against eUnited, I wouldn't want to play a traditional hunter here. I would be looking for an assassin play, maybe some Naja, maybe some Bakasura action, maybe even go for a straight warrior and just be aggressive. Maybe even run a double jungle strategy looking to get the slight edge.
That's a bit spicy. Double jungle and then what, supporting duo on his own?
Maybe.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll see what happens in this one between eUnited and Trifecta. Obviously, eUnited definitely the favourites with the Baskin change for them, replacing Venenu. Let's get into picks and bans and see how this one plays out. As we said, though, Mask will be playing Hunter for Trifecta in this game, and their new jungler, SmiteVOD, will be in action.
And Mask is going to be against PandaCat, knowing how aggressive PandaCat can be. You don't want to be looking for those boxing skirmishes. That's why I'm thinking he shouldn't play a traditional Hunter.
In fairness, though, I mean, what's the harm in Mask just going ham? Like, why don't you just go hard in that lane? If you lose, you lose. It's whatever to him, technically, if he's, going to be moving away. But he could show that he's just as good as the other hunters, right?
No, except for soccer, though. He likes to gank dual lanes, so that could be another strategy that Trifecta look to exploit. Use the aggressive nature from PandaCat against him.
Well, into the picks and bans we go then. Factor in, the patch hasn't hit the Pro League just yet. That'll come into play next week in Week 3. So obviously, all these games were played just before that, with these games just on the previous patch. So then, into the ban phase we go. Chernobog Freya, as expected, and Morrigan, and of course, Athena. So Baron available here.
Baron is available, but going for the Naja because the patch hasn't hit, like you mentioned. Still very important to get that locked in, but knowing Trifecta's Paul, he might want to go for the Thoth potentially, taking that option away from Baskin.
And thinking of SmiteVOD too, maybe Ratatoskr is one of his real go-tos. I'd say Sam has really shined on that over time. That and Thor, but with Thor not being in his scene as often, I expected the Rat, and there we go, we get it.
Ratatoskr is just a little bit more easier to pilot. Being able to pick up your Acorn while you're still farming the jungle is a huge competitive edge over the gods such as Thor or even Thanatos Global.
Look at that rise of Anhur back into play. First Hunter picked. He's had a couple of buffs in continuously, and it's a very good PandaCat god, that.
He always looks for those solo kills. Against Barracuda, he had some solo kills as well, just being able to really flex on him whenever he wants. And I think he's going to be having quite a leisure time against Mask.
Maybe you check in a little bit early there, you never know. Hoyi will be the response, though, from Mask in the duo lane. We'll see how that works out. We don't see too much Holy just lately.
No, not quite yet, but maybe he's experimented with Huyi in the jungle in the past. We have seen Screammmmm. Scream has played Huyi in rank quite a considerable amount, and I wouldn't be surprised if Mask experiments with some hunters in that role as well.
Not the worst god to go to, though, if you're kind of not really in the hunter role all the time. I mean, you've got range with the Ricochet, you've also got a good escape with your leap and a good team fight ultimate, so pretty well rounded there. Trifecta ban away the Neef and the Yana, so more focused towards potentially mid lane here at Baskin, whereas Hobwa and Raijin taken away away from the God Pull from Trifecta.
Paul is just known for his Habwa, Freya, and Raijin. Going for the double hunter is Trifecta, locking in the Ullr second, expecting the Ullr to go middle for Paul, as that's just his aggressive nature. Hu Yi is easier in terms of getting away, in terms of also slowing people down with that ultimate.
Well, Baron versus Chang'e could be a matchup on the cards here. I would maybe see NeiruMah going for the Fafnir here with the double hunter composition definitely available.
Preferred, but I wouldn't be
support
surprised Baron potentially support. Still ambiguous about where Trifecta is going to run that god.
Kind of good with either Baron solo, go Sobek maybe here. It's going to be Ymir. That's interesting.
The walls are pretty good considering that it's only Anhur that can jump over it.
Yeah, it could come into play, those Ymir walls here. I mean, obviously coming into this one, what do you guys think at home? Who do you think will win this one? Obviously, a lot of people will be expecting of eUnited being the #1 and Trifecta not even having Zapman for this first game. Could be an awkward situation for Trifecta here.
I think if Trifecta win this game, it has to be the back of this Ymir pick, really isolating individual eUnited members with those walls.
Yeah, let's find out. It's going to be definitely good. Thoth in the mid lane, though. Let's get it over to John Finch and Taco for game 1.
eUnited up against Trifecta, game 1. Thank you both on the desk. Excellent job there. As eUnited look to try and take down Trifecta, who have a slightly different look here. We knew it was going to be Samedi coming into the jungle for them, but it looks like Mask had to step in since Zatman couldn't be here. Taco, that's going to make a difficult task even harder.
Should be a rather interesting switch-up for the team to try and handle, but one thing that I think is going to be very noticeable is that Zatman tends to have a little bit of a more aggressive nature. Mass, since he's more unfamiliar with this role, might not want to play it as aggressively, but alongside the Baron, NeiruMah is bound to help him establish some good lane clear here.
That is going to be instrumental for them, I think, is how well they can play this Baron and Hu Yi lane, because that's exactly the lane it's going to be. They're sending Ymir over to the solo lane up against Benji's Chang'e. And Taco, we already know what a bully Benji can be on the Chang'e on the solo lane in matchups up against like more traditional solo laners, but now this Ymir has to try and stack up against that.
The Ymir is a rather interesting choice as well for solo, because Ymir can be pretty susceptible to ganks. He's not the most mobile god, very large hitbox to try and take advantage of also. But the key that I'm going to really keep an eye out for is just how exactly Scary D plans on utilizing these walls. I think walls could be the most potent thing against eUnited, because a lot of their members can't actually afford to jump over the wall. In fact, it's only PandaCat with any real form of escape.
That's right. Those walls certainly could, in those narrow pathways, catch somebody out. Now, do they have the same sort of big capitalization on that a mage would? Certainly Paul will have plenty of damage, but the thing that sort of covers that gap is you do have Mask on this Hu Yi, right? That big mage ultimate. If they are locked off, he can drop those suns off and cause problems, and Samedi might be in some trouble here as well as he enters the SPL and maybe avoids finding his way back to base.
Sam doesn't have that blink available, already utilized it earlier on, and the horrific emblem is going to end up paying off there for PolarBearMike as he claims the first blood for the match onto Sam. And just such an unfortunate invade. Was not expecting the rotation so early on from PolarBearMike and PandaCat, but to be honest, they didn't really have much reason to stick around in duo to begin with.
Yeah, they have all the pressure in duo lane, right? So it's not too difficult for them to be able to rotate over and just check that for Samedi. So unfortunate for him that he does end up getting caught out there, but I think he was at least able to get the buff before he fell, so at least strip that away. But again, sort of gifting back a kill to PolarBearMike and Screammmmm, and PandaCat getting the assist credit.
And between successfully stripping away the buff and getting the timer for it, as well as the fact that it was PolarBearMike who claimed that first blood bounty, it's not like it went to Screammmmm on the Najah, or even worse, PandaCat, I think, on that Anhur. Could have possibly been bullying Mass a little bit harder there, but it's probably the most ideal situation for a support to get the first blood.
At least the support will be happy to try and get a little bit of extra gold. I'm right there with you to make their lives easier. But PolarBearMike and PandaCat are such a difficult duo lane, even for the most seasoned of duo lanes to go up against. So that's what makes it, I feel like, even more difficult for Neil and Mask. So far, they've kind of been able to hold their ground, as it looks like PandaCat did have to bring out a quick pause for eUnited, so we'll get you right back in the game. But how long are they going to be able to keep that going once ultimates come in, once those first ganks start happening?
And that's the thing that I really want to keep an eye out for, because Sam, he died right at level 2. Also was forced to take that dash a little bit sooner than I think he might have been anticipating. And as a result, I feel as though there's a good chance we see Screammmmm looking for invades off of those initial buff respawns. eUnited, for one, has been pretty dominant, I would say, in terms of jungle pressure so far this split. And I know that we're really early on in the season, but it's still something that you have to keep in mind, especially knowing that you're introducing your jungler back to competitive play for the first time in a while.
That's right. I mean, he has been, playing consistently, like SML-wise, but you're right. At this level, it's entirely different. It's like the speed and everything happens, that you can make so few mistakes, and that these other teams are so good at capitalizing on them that Sanfrecocr has to make sure he's able to adjust to very much on the fly, and not even with the normal comfort of having, the full roster here. So eUnited gonna try and put the question to him, but Sanfrecocr undeterred. He's right back here for that red buff.
No questions whatsoever. Sam wants this invade to happen. Paul gonna get some nice poke damage there onto Scream with the hail of arrows, but they've got to be careful. PolarBearMike and PandaCat could start their rotation sometime soon. Speaking of which, Scream gonna sash in onto Paul and doesn't want any future aggression, but the buff hasn't managed to be confirmed yet up until Sam finally manages to drop it.
Wow, they somehow managed to make that happen, even with Scream, Baskin, and PolarBearMike all right there. They commit heavily under the buff. They are able to strip it away, and they're able to make it right back out, too. It doesn't cost them too much in terms of relics, just a nice invade.
That is one of the advantages of taking Ullr into the mid lane. Paul having multiple abilities so early on could very well just collapse on top of Baskin alongside of Sanfrecocr, and that's why we saw Baskin so far back. He was poised and ready to maybe look for an invade and punish stun, but didn't want to necessarily all-in commit there onto the red buff just a little bit too soon in the match to risk that.
Didn't want to go for it just yet as Baskin needs to reposition. Does get away from Sanfrecocr. We just saw shards of ice committed from Scary D in the solo lane. It looks like he had to use teleport as well. One more thing Chang'e obviously doesn't have to worry about with that bunny passive, and still has the waxing moon, but did have to use the meditate.
All Benji's had to use so far is that meditate, though, Finch, and being able to stay in the lane for so long in comparison to Scary D is what could really catapult Benji ahead of Scary here. I do like the Ymir so far, however, especially once he ticks into level 7 and onwards, he'll have no issues whatsoever with clearing the wave. Speaking of which, Benji should try to be a little careful here. Doesn't seem to really notice Sanfrecocr on that blue buff right away, but Scary D gonna toss up a nice wall, and what I like about that wall is that it prevents Benji's vision from seeing whether or not Sam could possibly have been in the jungle.
There's anything to deny some information, but Scream is lurking in the jungle. Scary D with no ultimate could be a bit in trouble. Sash lands first. Windfire Wheels to take him up. It's not doing a ton of damage, but it's bringing him low. Waxing Moon is chained perfectly, and Benji gets the second kill for eUnited.
Pretty tragic for Scary D. It just assumed that he was safe there, I think, because he just saw his jungler, Sam, just came by to drop that blue buff, and then the next thing you know, it's Scream looking for the all-in commit, and it's not every day you see a Najah choosing to ult on Ymir.
That was very strong, though. The one thing that makes that work is that Shard of Ice had to be used in lane earlier, and Scream recognizing just barely how much time they had to get in and capitalize before that potential CC immunity could be there. And they're going to make it back to defend their red buff, so that can't be invaded on again. So far, eUnited are making the most of this early game, but Life of the Party might have something different to say.
Scream actually going to be able to avoid the damage. Beautiful pillar there from PandaCat to stop his teammate from being pulled in off the Baron ultimate, and now Scream still looking for more on the turnaround. You could not have asked for a better outplay moment from PandaCat.
Man, there's a lot of glare in the room. Was Neil there? Was he? I feel like he was trying to do an Ullr. Oh, Paul gets deleted as well. Baskin finds the final judgment. Sanfrecocr wanted to trade it back out. He is going to be able to blink through, but evade and punish waits perfectly for him. But Baskin still taking some poke in mid as Mask in some trouble as well.
Mask is going to end up falling there to PandaCat. Really nice root patience out of PBM. Now Scream could be in a little bit of trouble. Nice damage from Scary D, but he still needs one more basic. Going to manage to finish that one off. Baskin's gameplay there, though, in the mid lane role, not only perfect strike with that final judgment to find the kill onto Paul, but the patience on holding the evade and punish through Sam's blink to the backside. I mean, that's a pretty crazy flick of the wrist, Finch.
No, it absolutely is nuts, and it's the kind of thing where we've almost come to expect it from Baskin, to make those types of plays, but you're absolutely right, and that keeps him alive there, Keely in that middle lane. They also, though, are able to get the kill into Mask across the map, and they found, as you said, that final judgment to get that started. It's just all going eUnited here, as they already have a 2,000 gold lead.
Yeah, I don't think eUnited could have asked for a better starting point. Every single member on their team looking really strong in lane, and the only person who's died so far is Scream, which the team is probably happy about also. eUnited, I mean, these guys like to have fun with each other, and they're very open about it. And now Scream, hoping to get something going here onto Sam, pulls him immediately for that Windfire and Wheels. Baskin waiting at the bottom with that final judgment, possibly.
Wow. The Windfire Wheels perfectly gets him away from the life of the party. Paul and NeiruMah don't quite have enough damage, and it looks like Paul does not have Hail of Arrows for him either, so he makes it out. Now PolarBearMike can continue to go aggressive, but the freeze will slow it down, but Horrific Emblem and Benji's long rotation are going to set up some trouble now for Scary D.
Oh, Scary D never even had a chance to see it coming. Sam gonna end up getting stunned out there by Scream, but still looking for more. Beautiful meditation, though, from Benji to help Baskin stop from falling, and that's going to be Sam only managing to find one.
And now Neil's in trouble as the long range of Aiden Punish catches him, and PolarBearMike finds one more kill, 3 for 1 overall. But a good rotation from Mask will find Baskin on the back end, but now he has to escape. He doesn't have very many tools, still has the dive bomb. PolarBearMike lands the stun. PandaCat has Desert Fury, and Mask falls too.
Oof, Paul just barely managing to get behind that pillar in time, and PandaCat probably wishing he place that a little bit farther back. Still, so much aggression so early on from eUnited. It's very clear that their intent is to pretty much just push the gas pedal from the start. They want to smother Trifecta, get the jungle pressure going all throughout the map. That way, it's pretty much just open territory for them to choose when and where they want to act on.
And the biggest problems for me is Paul is able to use the beads to get away from the Windfire Wheels, but not able to get away from Scream entirely. Samedi can't trade it because Baskin lands evade and punish. Crit turnaround and final judgment sets up 2 in the mid lane. It's a Scream and Baskin are just a nuts combo.
Scream and Baskin are tearing Trifecta apart right now in the mid and jungle. Sam has had so many good dive-ins, I think. I don't fault Sam for choosing to go in there. I think that Baskin and Scream are just outplaying him.
Yes.
100%. And it's not really on Sam. He's doing everything that he probably should be in that moment. It's just that it's not enough at times. And I think that this is just a little bit of a display of experience.
Yes, that's really what it feels like. It feels like there is an experience gap, but to be honest, Taco, I don't think the experience gap as a 5-man unit has shown through just yet. So far, it really has felt like eUnited have just been better mechanically in this game. They've been able to just, as you say, outplay Trifecta here so far. And what's going to get worse is that the experience gap as a team will show soon as NeiruMah gets caught in his own jungle by the 3-man roving gang of eUnited.
Now, there isn't even any farm there. eUnited, they just wanted to take the Gold Fury. That's why they were looking for a kill so deep in Trifecta's jungle. They figure if we find one pick, that's going to open up the pathway for us to take this for free. And now Mask, he's the lone person trying to maybe look to defend, but the Gold Fury is just burned too quickly there by PolarBearMike, Scream, and PandaCat. It's a prime trio for taking down any objective.
Able to grab it, no problem. Sort of like if someone takes your wallet and you're like, but there's no money in it. And they're like, I just want it. They just take it anyway. And that's kind of what it felt like United did. But that's a tremendous experience lead we just saw on the charts. Approaching 10,000, 10 minutes into the game, 7,000 gold. I mean, it's so difficult to fight back from it as Baskin avoids that through the Cosmos quite easily.
And that was pretty much the best opportunity Trifecta had to look for a kill onto the Thoth. It was the first time in a while we've truly seen Baskin all by himself there. And even then, he's still pretty close to his own side of the map that Scream was so... he was ready to be involved in the action should Trifecta have committed any deeper. But at level 8 and just now hitting 9, Samedi realizes he's got to try and prioritize his farm here.
Paul now in some trouble. Sash keeps him locked down, but there's no wall stun on the back end. The root's there, but he's too far away for the rest of the team. Earth and Fury lands, so Samedi takes a bunch of damage. PolarBearMike is stunned underneath the tower. That is a nice kill for Paul, but Mask does fall to PandaCat to make it 1-for-1, and now Scream locks down Neil.
But Trifecta already invested so much trying to keep PBM inside of that T2 tower. Scary D hoping for a defense here, but NeiruMah's already fallen. Mask is down on the opposite end. Who's to prevent PandaCat from rotating in?
And this is the real problem, I feel like, to me. It's the big level spread between Benji and Neil. I know they're not lane opponents, but that shows just the big experience gap overall as Scream does get caught with the freeze. I like the blink from Sam, but Baskin just too far ahead at this point. Sam doesn't do enough damage. Evade and punish chunks. Scream low on the back end, but the meditation bait is real. Scary D at least trades it out and the wall, but jumping right over is PandaCat.
And PandaCat, the only member that could go past the walls of Ymir. Speaking of which, Samedi investing in that through the Cosmos. Mask gonna get a nice ricochet stun onto Baskin. Now Benji could be in a little bit of trouble. There are 3 members from Trifecta looking to collapse, but this Chang'e at level 14 might be better suited for Trifecta to just fall back here.
They've popped the sprint, though. They're showing every sign that they still want this fight. They have the mark on PandaCat, who jumps away over the wall, but Mask is still chasing. He lands the ricochet, but just does not have the damage without any follow-up.
And Benji all the while just going to heal up every single little bit of the damage that Samedi tried to put on him from that Acorns of Flurry. And it's clearly problematic now, this experience gap between Benji and the entirety of Trifecta.
Right.
Benji is level 14, most farm member of the entire match, and it just doesn't seem like he's planning to slow down anytime soon.
No, they can't. They really just can't touch this Chang'e. 4-0-4. And even when the game was at its most cluttered, you know, through those first few minutes, it was not cluttered at all for Benji, and that kind of stood as this pillar where even if things got messy, Benji could hit a 3-man waxing moon and very nearly take down Samedi in the 1v3. He's got 3 people running away from him, and they're right. They can't fight this.
They can't take this engagement in the slightest. And you say 3 people, Finch, but as far as I was concerned, Samedi, it doesn't really count as a person right now to Benji. He is level 15. This Ratatoskr is 5 levels beneath him. That waxing moon alone practically took Sam out, so
it really did.
He just has to respect the amount of control that Benji has over Solo and give up the buff.
Samedi ulting to try and defend his speed buff. He does knock up Scream, freeze to chain the control. Sash immunes the damage, and Scream wants to keep on boxing inside 4 members. He finally falls back. Baskin still has final judgment, but Neil can't find anyone to pull. He barely has Scream, who has to use Windfire Wheels to run away.
Nice wall there from Scary D. Gonna cut Scream off for a moment longer, but there's just not enough damage between the entirety of Trifecta. Their follow-up is not there. Scream's gonna be able to roll away from this one. Baskin will end up losing his Purification Beast to Sam for Soccer, but now Sam could be in a whole mess of trouble because PVM has appeared, and he's looking to peel for his Thoth.
Benji and PolarBearMike are both here to frontline for the squad and try and get a few members locked down. Sam for Soccer is the one who gets stunned, but only Baskin was there. Evade and punish for the follow-up. The wall's good for a moment, and Trifecta even considering a surrender vote at this point. And I think they're right with how much damage or how much abilities they put onto Scream. For him to not die there, that really does kind of signify that they are just so far behind.
There's a lot of factors working against Trifecta right now. One more of them might be NeiruMah losing half of his HP to PolarBearMike alone. PandaCat standing by just for good measure, but this red buff is looking to be all eUnited. Gold Fury also about to spawn pretty shortly here, and eUnited, I mean, it's practically theirs for the taking.
It absolutely is. Trifecta can't come in and try and fight. Scary D does want to look to see if he can set up a wall freeze, but PandaCat just jumps right over. Sam for Soccer up in the air. He will get the knock up on the PandaCat, but the immediate turnaround deletes him from the game. Mask now wants to try and find PandaCat in return, but really, eUnited got their kill and they can just leave.
Good intentions from Sam for Soccer because he knew that Scary D and Mask were waiting right at the bottom here, but now NeiruMah, he's just being gobbled up by PandaCat. It doesn't even matter that he's got that life of the party in the works. He's going to be able to pull PandaCat's Purification Beads, but at the expense of his own life.
They weren't ready for the blink on her, blink and Thoth, as Baskin is now stuck inside the Suns. Mask gets impaled up against the wall. Mask trying to look out for the trade. Aegis keeps him alive for the second. A good freeze from Scary D does set up the kill, at least onto Baskin, but now can they win the 2v2? Not with PandaCat putting in damage numbers like this, but he might have to run.
PandaCat trying to get Scary D out of the way, and PBM also looking to absorb as many body blocks as possible. PandaCat still had his Purification, or no, they just came back up. He didn't actually have to use them against NeiruMah. And Scary D now, they spent so much time trying to find PandaCat here, that's going to end up costing Trifecta's solo life.
Well, PandaCat with the jump up, knock up, forces Sam for Soccer back out and keeps him alive. Scream chases down Mask on the back end. 21 kills in 16.5 minutes. We might have to make that 22. Paul just barely gets away, but Benji forced down the tier 2 tower. I mean, this game is entirely off the rails at this point, Taco. eUnited, I mean, they just look so strong.
And you have to keep in mind, this is Trifecta working with a lot of different specialty circumstances. This is Sam for Soccer's debut. Welcome back to the SPL, Sam, and eUnited are sure giving him a hell of a time for it, but Mass as well doing his best to try and play a suitable hunter role position here for the team. It just going up against PandaCat and PolarBearMike, such an established duo lane at that, can be some really rough stuff to try and deal with. Mask, he's definitely formidable of an opponent when he's in the jungle role. That's his specialty, but trying to plug and play on the Ho-Yi for the ADC role, I mean, it's not like we imagined to go this far south, but I don't blame him.
No, and Mask, and I think it's actually a lot of credit to him to step up to this one, because for all intents and purposes, Mask was trying to take a bit of a step away from Smite and just take a break, it seemed like, for himself personally. But when he was needed, he came back for Trifecta and is filling in these shoes for them so they can compete here. Unfortunately, it's just up against the toughest opponent you could ask for, at least in North American eUnited. And they're certainly looking like it here. Trifecta trying to keep this one on the rails, but another Gold Fury goes down to eUnited to make matters even worse.
The speed buff, though, not necessarily guaranteed there for eUnited. In fact, Trifecta will manage to secure that one for Sam. Not sure he'll be making his way over here anytime soon, however, because he's in dual lane, just trying his best to catch up and farm wherever possible. And NeiruMah has pretty much given up all hopes and dreams of ever seeing past the Phoenix range. And eUnited, I'm almost ready for them to just take the Fire Giant any given moment here and then come barreling down the mid lane.
Well, they definitely can do what they want to in this game, sort of at their will, it feels like. Scream threatening right Phoenix is going to get frozen by Scary D with the blink. Benji here, though, to provide any peel necessary. Fire Giant should go down to the remaining 3 members without any trouble. PandaCat's plenty of damage on it. I did want to talk a little bit about some of these build paths. Mask is going this double lifesteal build, and we don't see that often, right? The Devourer's Gauntlet and the Aussie. I'm thinking that's maybe because he's behind and Aussie's so cheap for some stats that can still help.
It gives him a little bit of pen. He won't be dealing a whole lot of damage against anybody, but I don't think damage is his concern so much as it is surviving.
Right.
And Scream now just giving all of Trifecta the runaround. That's going to force out Mass Sunbreaker. Sanfrecokr blinking forward, but misses on that stun with the Acorn Blast. Ring toss out of Scream into the Windfire and Wheels forward, maybe expecting a dash out of Sam.
I think he was looking for the highlight play there, right? Expecting someone else to come in, but Scream continuing to box multiple members. He forces Sanfrecokr to flee on the left side, and Paul can't keep up. Scream's too fast. Sanfrecokr does have to throw the Cosmos away. But remember, this is all just buying time for eUnited to back, to push up all 3 waves and keep the pressure onto Trifecta.
Mass knows. And Benji knows also. I mean, these guys are very familiar with each other, and Mass, he's doing what he can to try and make things happen. But speaking of which, Baskin, that chunk out of the evade and punish, is going to end up obliterating Paul on the spot.
No games being played here from Baskin, trying to put an end to this one. Right Phoenix is low, mid Phoenix is low from PandaCat's pressure as well. Scary D is there to defend on the right-hand side, but it's too little too late. Right Phoenix will come down. Mass has to jump away from their pressure, but Baskin and PolarBearMike are going to look for the turnaround on the Scary D.
PandaCat's just waiting for the next wave to come in. Scary D, he's alive for the moment, but only because eUnited allows him to be. No one really fully committing just yet, but with 2 Phoenix already fallen, I'd imagine this is where eUnited look to make their final push.
NeiruMah does hop on top of the coffin, but no one wants to rest inside it, at least not today. Scary D wants to move forward, and PandaCat has way too much damage. Baskin gets the kill. The surrender vote does indeed come out. And eUnited take game 1. Trifecta, we know they got some strong players, but that one got away from them in a hurry.
That kind of just all started. I think it was a little bit of a trickle-down effect from that failed red buff invade by Sam. He secures the buff, sure, and that's a great start initially for Trifecta up until he gets collapsed on from the dual lane out of eUnited and the mid lane jungler combination. There was just nowhere left for Sam to run on that one. And from that moment forward, we saw another couple of successful red buff invade attempts out of Trifecta, and they were able to secure the red multiple times. It's just that it came at a very steep price for the team.
Right.
And Scream just utilized that alongside of Baskin to completely strong-arm Sam out of his whole jungle.
Yeah, and an even bigger problem became when Benji started to rotate around, right? He was so far ahead of everyone else on the map. And speaking of Benji, who was your MVP there for Game 1? Go ahead and vote for us in the Mixer chat. It definitely sounds like, and it's true, that my vote would go to Benji if I got one, but we're going to let that up to y'all in chat.
I'm going to give it to Mass, man. It is not an easy task to go against PandaCat in that dual lane. And I feel bad, but like he's obviously trying to be a team player still, despite having chosen to step back from competitive play, and it is no easy measure accepting that sort of task.
No, not at all. And I think you're right. For all intents and purposes, he probably wasn't planning to play at all and just kind of stepped up when they needed him. So I definitely put that appreciation out to Mass to at least get us a game here that we can take a look at. But unfortunately, it doesn't go their way. But that's only game 1. Trifecta still have a chance here in game 2 to try and force the game 3. Let's get it back to the desk for their thoughts.
Oof. Is kind of my thoughts on that one, Tolly. That was very one-sided affair. You kind of expecting not having Zapman there, not having a natural hunter in the position, and a new roster change his first game there too against, well, technically still world champions for the time being, but now have Baskin on this roster too.
With all that said and done, I still think that the game was lost not because Mask was playing Hunters. From the very beginning of the strategy, the Sanford Soccer invade on the red buff getting punished by the collapse from PBM. Going for this horrific emblem start was really long distance calculated, or think more towards the mid to late game against a double hunter composition. Once you upgraded, lowering the attack speed, I like the idea and mindset.
Would you believe it? Benji got the MVP for that game. I mean, there was a moment in time where he hit a waxing moon on 3 people and made them run to the tier 2 tower on his own. That's sort of how strong he was in this laning phase. Tolly, you play a lot of Ymir in the solo lane too. We never really touched on it because I didn't really think about it being scary D on that Ymir because it's one of his go-tos. How is that matchup on paper? Is it that good for Ymir to be the ultimate Chang'e?
It's good for the Chang'e as a whole. The Chang'e can easily avoid the Glacial Strike, can avoid the freeze. And I think rotating to team fights sustained over the wall collapses is going to heavily favor Benji and the boys.
Now, obviously, this is only game 1. It is a best of 3 set, and the good news is Zapman will be back for this game.
That was cute.
What, the standstill?
Yeah, Benji was just like, yeah, I'm not going to walk into that.
Yeah, Mass was too telegraphed, that was the problem there, and worked out well then for eUnited. But yeah, game 2. Zap is back, no Mask, it's going to be Zapman in the duo lane. So, Trifecta, do you just put that game to bed and go whatever, and just